My name is Lakshmi Kaul, and I'm bringing you this UK India series for Global Order. FinTech has transformed how we move, manage, and think about money. But behind every product is a story of trust, behavior, and culture. That's exactly where today's guest comes in. I'm joined by the founder of London based Fin.Tech Marketing Community, who comes with over 2 decades of experience in B2B marketing, having serviced some global financial technology biggies like Microsoft, General Electric, Barclays. She has worked across the UK, Europe, and North America. I'm delighted to welcome Payal Raina to Common Ground today. Hi, Payal. It's great to have you with us.
Hi, Lakshmi. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.
So let's talk about the Fin.Tech marketing community that you've built. What is it? And tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Sure. Thank you so much. Myself, Payal Raina, and I'm really excited to be here today. And as a founder of Fin.Tech Marketing Community, we are a global go-to-market fintech platform, bringing financial services and technology, business and marketing leaders together. We have got members across 100 countries and over 25,000 members and subscribers worldwide. So really excited to bring that safe space where people can connect, learn, and grow.
Wonderful. And how long back did you build this community? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, so the community actually started back in the COVID days. I know we all have got our own COVID stories, Lakshmi. So mine was like, I was actually looking for a community for myself because I was thinking how our business is going to close multi-million dollar deals on a Zoom call. So I decided to take the initiative and create the community myself. And it's been now 6 years since the community is being operating. We are very much a peer-led community. That means all the senior leaders working in financial services, traditional banks, to disruptive fintechs and tech companies. They've all come together to support the community and help through that journey, whether it's training, coaching, networking, celebration with awards. There's something for everyone. But yeah, it's still we are the young kid in the block indeed.
Barely a young kid on the block. I think you've done fairly phenomenally. So let's talk about the fintech market as such. It's seen an explosive growth, but it's also seen some very public failures. From where you sit, are we building better financial systems? Are we just doing better marketing?
That's a great question, Lakshmi. And I think we're probably doing both, but not always in the right order. I feel they are genuinely like transformative fintech products, which are improving access, their speed, transparency. But there's also a layer where marketing is outpacing the substance. So the messy reality is that the companies scale perception, but before they have got a full proven product fit. And I feel in financial services, that's very dangerous. As you said in the beginning, it's about trust. And trust is the product in this new, financial systems and particularly in this era.
Absolutely right. And so, what would you say is the single biggest mistake that a fintech company might make when they're trying to scale globally?
Yeah, look, I think the one biggest mistake is assuming that what works in one market will translate directly into that other market. And I think we've seen time and time again, not understanding the cultural nuances, not understanding the way the things work in that particular market. You can't do a rinse and repeat process, if that makes sense. So fintech isn't just about technology, but it's about trust. It's about regulation. It's about behavior you're trying to do. So what resonates, for example, in UK would not resonate in India or in US. So I think the fact too many companies underestimate the localization, I feel, and it's not just the language, right, but the mindset. That could be one of the biggest mistakes the businesses can be making.
So, you sit between product and perception. You're delivering that big dream for people to sell their products. What is harder to get right? Is it the product or the narrative?
Another good question. I would say both are hard, but narrative is often underestimated. That's what I feel. Because you can have a great product, right? Particularly in fintechs, you can have a fantastic technology product, but if you can't articulate why it matters in a way that connects people emotionally, commercially, and you won't be able to scale. So end of the day, I've seen products, I've seen businesses fail because they sounded like everyone else. And according to one of the McKinsey's research, it says the top three reasons why some of the fintechs might fail is not because of lack of technology, not because of lack of marketing, but actually that storytelling and lack of investment in the go-to market and how you get your narrative out to the market. And it brings back to the question, Lakshmi, you were saying earlier, right? Like, what's the biggest mistake? And it's getting that story right, which has got the global fundamentals in there in terms of the brand values, but it's very well executed locally. So yeah, so I feel both are hard, but one is more underestimated, which is narrative.
Absolutely. And you are in London, and I know that London's always been positioned as like this global fintech hub. How much of that would you say is a reality? And are there any other emerging centers of fintech that are, not that popularly known, but they are drawing a lot of attention?
Yeah, no, sure. So look, we actually had our annual European Fin.Tech conference in London a couple of weeks ago, and we had an honor of having our Deputy Mayor of London, Howard Dauber, he was there. And I would say London is absolutely a global fintech hub, and it is very much supported by statistics and data. So if you look at, it's like one of the top two after America. It's UK. Of course, India is now, with all the speed, scale, what's happening. There are other markets like India who are kind of giving a very tough competition. So there's no doubt indeed that London continues to dominate that position internationally. But at the same time, I do want to give credit to say that it's also very good at telling story. So, and the reality is the talent, the regulation, the capital investment, the support, particularly, Honorary Howard Dauber was talking about the London Global program they have been driving is being super keen, kind of driving some of that image from a branding standpoint. And it definitely helps, right? It amplifies everything. And importantly, I don't think so. It's necessarily a bad thing because the reality is the perception drives investment and innovation. So I absolutely feel like, London is there on the map right next to US, but I feel India with that speed of technology, innovation, and the government's guidance, I think it's going to be, overtaking that spot maybe really soon. So it would be an interesting space for us to watch out.
Absolutely. And India operates at a scale that no other country is known to operate at. I mean, you've got the Aadhaar card, you've got the biggest digital payment gateways to all these digital payment systems that India's rolled out across the country. And there's a lot of digital inclusion as well. So that's definitely, I would say, a good market to be looking at. So when you look at the UK, India, and even North America, because I mean, you have considerable experience of working there. What are the biggest differences in how consumers relate to money across these locations?
Sure, sure, sure. And maybe it's a nice segue if I start with India first, Lakshmi, right? So as you rightly said, India is all about scale. It's about adoption. It's about speed. If you look at the population, what it's booming, if you look at number of investors that's coming into India, and also recently in a geopolitical situation, we had so many governments, they were, whether it was Canadian government, whether it's a European Union, they all were going to India. So I think India is very fascinating because of the consumers are incredibly, I would say, open to digital finance, but also very value conscious. So I feel India is all about scale and adoption, and that's where the growth is. Now, whilst we talk about other markets like UK, Europe, and of course North America, it's very different markets completely. They are much more mature markets. Their economy and infrastructure has been much more, it's been there for a number of years, whilst, India, as we know, we got independence, back in 1947. So it's comparatively a newer from that standpoint. And in that short time, scale and grown, phenomenally, which is absolutely amazing to see. America on the other side is very product driven, competitive. It's a very entrepreneurial mindset. If you look at number of the new businesses that are being launched and the support they get from that standpoint, I would say it's very competitive, very product driven, very entrepreneurial market. You then come on the European side of this side of the pond. And in my experience, there's a very good balance between trust and innovation. So, and I think that's kind of where UK has been very trusted based on the history UK always have, and particularly London as that financial hub has been quite dominating from that trust and innovation standpoint. Hence, you would see whether you are somebody, a billionaire in Middle East or in Dubai, Russia, etc., you will see a lot of funding and investments continues to come into London and particularly in UK from that standpoint. So I think for me, that's how I'm going to compare the three markets. India more like scale, adoption, US more about competitive, very product driven, and then UK is a nice balance between that trust and innovation from a buyer standpoint.
And are there any other markets that are of interest to you currently? Are there any emerging markets that you are watching out for?
Yes, of course. So I think South America could be very interesting markets. We are looking at those. We had quite a few people who attended from Mexico, Brazil. So I think I would say we need to keep an eye on South American markets and also the other Southeast Asian markets, particularly like if you look at Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, and especially from an AI adoption standpoint, that would be really, really interesting. I was in Hong Kong and Singapore last month, and we hosted our roundtable events there, and it was fascinating to see how most of the organization are absolutely like spearheading in terms of technology, whilst they're out there rolling out these latest new technologies. And it's no more the use cases, but it's absolutely about how can we solve customer problems. Whilst then you come on the European side, it's all about, we have been the first implementing the AI EU regulation. So I think, yeah, so other markets to watch out, I would say South America, definitely. And then other Southeast Asian markets, particularly the ones which are like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, which people consider they're a quite smaller market, but they are growing quite rapidly.
Fascinating. That's pretty much the whole world covered in a bubble. So, would you say that the most concerning conversations in fintech marketing community is currently AI and AI adoption, or is it something else?
I think AI continues to be, I know, as much as we all think, oh my God, another AI conversation. So AI continues to be on the top of people's mind because it's about, I mean, if you remember back in the days, right, when people were using cash, then all of a sudden you had credit cards, right? So it was taking that leapfrog in terms of change about now we're going to be a cashless. Now we're going to be contactless. So I feel we are going through that phase where people are re-engineering their infrastructure. They're re-engineering the type of talent they need. They're re-engineering the fact that the speed to the market now, whatever took them like weeks, now can be done in days or hours. So I think the complete revamp. I think we are that generation who have actually seen the traditional. We have seen the Y2K back in 2000. We have seen the internet. We have seen the iPhone generation, and now this AI age. But for fintechs, I think it's now where last year the conversations was like, my God, do we need to do something about this? Is it a fad? And now it's like, okay, how can we leverage this as an opportunity for us to provide that seamless, frictionless client experience? So I think everybody is looking at that. But at the same time, trying to figure out to say, have we got the right talent? Have we got the right people? And then, yeah, so it's literally revamping from the top to down and bottom up to ensure they are AI ready. Because if you're not, I think that's a very much missed opportunity. So companies who are out there leveraging those and passing the benefits to their clients are going to be here in long run to succeed. Others, if you're not able to scale and grow and adapt quickly to this new AI revolution, then they're probably, out of the business or probably, yeah, we'll see the impact financially in the next few months and years.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that bothers me is that if you look at a country like India, not everybody is digitally included yet. There are people who are also choosing not to be included. So that means that all your fintech opportunities, because everything's being converged into one card or one click of a button or one platform. So like UPI payment gateways, they do everything. You can book a ticket, you can prove your identity, you can do your retina scans and everything. Everything is happening in one place. But those who are not on those smart platforms are missing out. And that there's a cost to it. There's digital exclusion, which means that some of the poorest and the those people who are already not included are going to be further isolated. And whether it is grain distribution in an emergency, if it is stimulus, like packages distribution, we will miss out on those already left out people, and there's going to be a big price to pay. How does your community reflect on issues like that, if at all that has come into the conversation?
Yeah, no, no. It's absolutely so. You're right in recognizing that although we have made progress, particularly leapfrogged in many areas in India, like especially in payments, there's absolutely a gap. From the community standpoint, one of the core reasons members or industry peers join the community is to educate themselves. So we take these issues very seriously, and for us, the purpose is to educate our members, get the latest research and insight. We tend to do lots of surveys. We tend to do lots of research and insight reports. We run lots of webinars. And of course, these major conferences or smaller peer-led roundtables. So I guess we as a community we are bringing that issues like these, and not just this issue about there's a gap in terms of digitization, even from a diversity standpoint. We take some of these things very seriously, but it's also the fact we put it on the agenda. We then have these work groups, we discuss about it, and then we make sure that it has a conclusion where people and businesses, particularly given in our community we have got quite senior decision makers. So 80% of our community members are C-suite or heads, and I think that's a good news. But also with that comes responsibility. So when we are bringing these agendas about, what are they doing? How they're going to be educating? Because we have got some fintechs out there, we have got banks out there. And I think it's passing that responsibility to their business and marketing leaders who are responsible for that narrative and the story we started in the beginning about, Lakshmi, you talked about, right? So yeah, look, I think that's where the power of the community is, and it's kind of letting people know to help them share their perspective and insights, but also converting those insights into an impact and some trackable results which we can measure. So then we come back every quarter and we talked about what did we discuss last time, what progress have we made, and how we are impacting the change. So I think hopefully as an impact, anybody who's listening to this conversation today, hopefully they can also share their perspective, but also help bring the discussion to their boardrooms through the medium of the community.
Absolutely. And as many diverse voices as you have, as many different perspectives you get. And that's how rich the community becomes. So that's quite phenomenal. So if you had to build a fintech brand, especially for the UK India corridor, what would you do differently?
For the UK India corridor, I think I would build it for trust and familiarity first. And what do I mean by those two keywords is that we are dealing here with cross-border complexity, right? So the brand needs to be credible in both markets. And it goes back to the conversation which you started, was it's about trust. So that trust and familiarization is super, super key. Number two, I think I would simplify the messaging, because I feel cross-border finance is already complicated. So it's about less is more. And finally, for me, I think clarity becomes competitive advantage about what are the benefits, what are the USP, what's in it for the people to kind of leverage, be part of that, and then kind of support from a global, from an international standpoint. But yeah, as I said, to kind of recap, build familiarity first, build trust, familiarity, and then kind of simplifying the complexity so it becomes very clearer for people and simple to be part of this exciting movement.
Absolutely. These two markets are fairly different, although there are many similarities between them as well. So, when you founded your own fintech marketing platform, I know you said that you wanted to bring the community together and it was more for your own benefit. But did you see along the way that there are gaps that you were filling steadily? Why did you, end up continuing with the, fintech marketing platform? How has it evolved till today?
Sure. No, no, no. I think it's a great question. And look, yes, The community was being created out of a need. But then as I started exploring further, Lakshmi, what I found was that lots of the industry segments, particularly financial services, fintech, and tech, were operating in silos. And given the convergence was happening between financial service and fintechs, right? So if you look at how many banks are actually having incubator labs, they're having innovation hubs, right? They are actually doing a lot of competition, etc., inviting lots of fintechs to come in and be part of their bank to help them to grow. I thought, how amazing would that be to kind of bring those two segments together under one roof? So, from taking them from being a competitor to being a collaborator. So it was that journey to take them through. For me, I identified there was a kind of a need there. Number two, what I noticed another gap was that particularly in fintechs, there's a lot of focus on technology and product. Of course, do so. If you look at some of these founders of fintechs, they're very product led and they're passionate about what they have built, which is kudos and accolade to all the amazing disruptive technologies we have got. But the bit which always get underestimated or missed or looked as a cost center is that whole go to market. How are you going to get that story out to the market? You've got this amazing product, and the founders start selling it themselves in the early days. But I think the underestimation of that go to market, the support they need, whether it's the PR, the press, the story, building that whole circle of trust, innovation, and getting that story out to different markets, especially if they're looking to scale and grow, because they underestimate that, underinvest. As I mentioned before, lot of fintechs, quite a few fail. And not that because they haven't got a product, they do have a product, but they didn't invest it enough time to get that story out. And guess what? Particularly in fintechs, as we see, there's lots of, funding series going, right? You're going from series A, B, C, D. And what are investors going to look at? They're going to look at the potential about how you can scale and grow your product in different markets. So I think it's not just about focusing on the marketing and the sales side of your product in one geography or multiple, but also from an investment and a funding standpoint, it's absolutely critical for them to focus on GTM, the go-to-market. So I was surprised when I looked the statistics and research, and I was like, wow. So what started as a small community, which I was looking to create for myself, now we have got this go-to-market platform where we are bringing basically buyers and sellers together. And as a back of it, people have networked, people have found jobs, people have found investments. So it's become like a comprehensive one-stop solution for fintechs for not only to scale and grow themselves, but also meet with other potential partners, particularly on banking side. And secondly, if you look from a talent standpoint, because we understand sometimes as a scale ups or startups, you might not have enough budget. We are a community who listen to our members all the time. And one of the requests was, can we have fractional C-suite support for these fintechs? So look, long answer to your short question there. There was a gap which we see. And as a result, we continue to be the only Fin.Tech marketing community. We have got chapters in New York, Hong Kong, Singapore, London. We actually kicked off our chapter in Dubai last December. Of course, sadly, because of what's happening in the region at the moment, things have been paused. But we are very excited with the response we have got and putting a spotlight on what really matters, which is taking your product and your narrative hand in hand to help you scale and grow, not just at your country level, but also at your company level.
I didn't hear anywhere in India there yet. So maybe I'll take the liberty and say Global Order will welcome you to India whenever you're ready. And we'd love to have you expand this network into India as well.
No,
So
100%
one
Lakshmi. And sorry to interrupt you. And I think, it was great to get kind of your message because it was in my back of my mind. And, being born and raised in India myself, I was like, yeah, so look, I think I've heard that from our members. When are we going to come to India? India still remains something, I'm quite emotional about it because of, the heritage. But also, I feel definitely there's an opportunity how we can support Indian fintechs to kind of scale and grow and becomes hopefully unicorns in their spaces.
So everybody heard it there first on Global Order. So because we've seen this whole advancement of tech during our lifetime, right? And we are continuing to see it evolve, as you said. Was there a moment when you realize that traditional financial marketing isn't working at all anymore. And so therefore building in a crowded fintech space, it's right now it's too crowded. Everybody's doing fintech in some form or the other. Was it harder than you expected, or has it been pretty smooth sailing for you?
So, traditional marketing, when buyers become more informed than sellers, that's when your traditional marketing sadly stops, because traditional marketing is very one directional, right? And according to the research, if you look at it, most of the buyers, they actually know 70% about your brand even before your salesperson or they have a first touch point with you, because they're already researching with all these tools, etc. Everything is quite readily available. So, yeah, and I think that research, that information on your tips, like if you look at like, with AI, whether you have got Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever tools they are using, people are actually leveraging their own research first. Number two, I'm finding is, and not just because it's our community, it could be any community, but I can speak for ourselves, is we're seeing most of these decision makers are validating whether their research is correct. So even before they're looking for any kind of adopting any fintech product, they're actually just checking the reviews in our community platform. So in our community, we have got WhatsApp groups, Slack groups, we have all got a community platform. So people are validating through peers. So I think that's like a demise of traditional marketing for me, because the research, all these AI tools you have got validation through your peers, which is there. Before even they are engaging and having that first or second conversation with someone in the sales, have already built a perception in their mind about what do they think that brand is going to offer. And I feel because of our buyers are much more informed, that's changed absolutely everything. And guess what, Lakshmi, here's a fun fact for you. And this is what we have been discussing in our conference and our roundtables recently in FinTech says, now you're not actually serving the human customers, how businesses are going to be serving machine customers. So I'm going to pause there for people to think for a second. It's now machine customers, because it might be my AI bot who's out there researching for me, is out there shortlisting for me some options. And guess what? They're not driven by emotions. For them, they don't care about trust anymore. What they care about is algorithms, which exactly matches with the precision of what they are looking for. So hence, I think in this new era of where you're serving machine customers, it's just going to revolutionize everything, whether your entire sales journey, from your awareness, your buyer's perception, your decision making, your consideration state. That's all the playbook has to be rewritten, which is already happening at the moment. But yeah, if the business are not leveraging that and if they're not thinking about it now, they are missing big time.
Absolutely right. And the competition is stiffer and stiffer and stiffer every single day as you're passing.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, and back to the point about, sorry, I missed your point about, the noise, because now there's so much noise. The way to cut through this is like, it's not about SEO anymore. It's about now, right? So it's about how many times you appear on ChatGPT, because the searches are not happening in traditional places anymore. So yeah.
So yeah, it's data driven. Everything is data driven. And the more data that you can input into, the better results that you have for yourself. So you're an Indian origin Canadian building in the UK. It's three different, almost three different nationalities or backgrounds coming
Yeah.
together. How has that shaped how you see markets and people?
I think first of all, it's great to have that global perspective, which I'm very grateful for. But I don't see these markets in isolation. I typically see these markets in terms of patterns, differences, and opportunities to connect them. And what does that mean is that from my personal perspective, someone who is leading and running a global community, that makes me more adaptable. That means we are constantly switching the context, which is more relevant to that particular market. So I feel it's like, think about like a salad, right? When you go and order a salad, that's my analogy here. You actually get I don't know, like a cucumber, you might have tomatoes, you might have olives, you might have cheese. So it's that a beautiful rainbow of the salad that comes in, which then you kind of see you're picking the best of the worlds and leveraging them to building this global, you know, fintech marketing community where, and I to be honest, I think that being, having that opportunity to live in different countries, in different markets, in different regions, as you probably might know, Lakshmi, I've also lived in Switzerland for a year. I think it brings that global perspective, which then makes you more emotionally more understanding, whether it's managing your team, your staff members, your colleagues, your members, because you appreciate those cultural differences and you're seeing the lens from their eyes rather than what you feel. So yeah, I feel it's bringing best of all the worlds together.
I also find that you see more parallels and similarities as well when you've traveled across the world and you've lived in different geographies. So it's great to have that kind of exposure. So, what's the next big shift in fintech that most people aren't yet paying attention to?
I think the biggest thing I would probably expand on what I said before. It's about serving that machine customers. It's coming quicker and faster than what you're thinking. So for me, it's that shift, but at the same time, it's complementing with that human to human marketing. So yes, we have got all these machine customers, but ultimately a final decision will be made by a human being. So I think having that right balance where people are not engaging with categories anymore, they engage with relevance, number one. They engage with trust, number two. They engage with authenticity. I think that's really important to cut through that noise. So for me, the next big shift is about how you're going to be serving that machine customer who's coming in, but complementing and balancing that with that human to human marketing. So it has to be hyper personalized, driven by relevance, trust, and authenticity.
Brilliant. Now I'm going to do a quick rapid fire round of questions. I've not done that on
Okay.
the show before, so it's my first
Right.
time doing it as well. So let's see. I'm going to try and do it as quickly as I can. So, one
Okay.
market that excites you the most right now?
India for speed and innovation. Yeah, I think that it's going to grow. I'm really excited and very proud.
Okay. A belief you've changed your mind about?
Growth, I feel growth needs to be fast, but it needs to be meaningful.
Okay. One non negotiable leadership habit?
Clarity. I think it's articulation, especially in your communication, like that clarity in communication is non negotiable because I've seen how things can miserably fail if you're not, if things get crosswise. So clarity for me is the one big thing.
And advice for young women building global careers?
I was actually at a Pay 360 panel other day. So one advice I would say is be comfortable by being uncomfortable. What that means is no one is going to come and serve things to you in your plate. So make your own space on the table. Like if I can use my example, for example, is you need to create your own space on the table. There's nobody's going to come to help you out. So yeah, don't wait that somebody's going to come and help you. You just need to be out there and be comfortable by becoming uncomfortable. So start, getting used to of the non-comfort zone.
Great advice. And finally, home means?
Home means a sense of belonging, and not just a place where, family.
For me, I would say food.
Like I was about to say, like, it was coming probably like, where my family, my kids are, parents are. So it's like something because I've traveled so many countries. So people say that's I was like, it's less about the place, it's more about the sense of belonging where you are.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Those are some very straight answers coming from a woman leader you all need to watch out for in the UK as well as around the world. Thank you, Payal, for speaking with us at Common Ground and sharing your perspectives and insights with us. Very valuable. It's very impressive. Thank you.
No, thank you indeed. Thank you so much for having me again. Thanks, Lakshmi.
Thank you. So, this is it for today. We will be speaking to another interesting guest, a prominent voice from the UK India corridor at Common Ground, presented to you by me, Lakshmi Kaul, for Global Order. Stay tuned.